What up though guys, it's your boy Stevie D, and are you tired of uploading your images to social media and they're just killing the quality with that compression? Today I'm going to show you how I export my images for the web and social media and still maintain that quality. You don't want to miss this one guys, come check it out. Alright guys, so we're going to jump into the video. I'm going to show you guys how I export my images so that I don't lose any quality for Facebook. And Instagram is not too bad, but Facebook is just egregious with compression. I also use this same technique when I export to web for my website. That way the images load pretty fast. So I'm going to show you guys 4 different ways you can do it. The first one is going to be in Photoshop. We're also going to do Lightroom, Capture One, and then I'm going to show you how, if you don't have any of those, how you can do it via a website. It's pretty cool. So let's go ahead and jump into Photoshop first, and I'll show you guys how I export these images. So we're in Photoshop, and the first thing I do after I'm done with the retouch and I'm ready to export it out, what I do is I'm going to go into File, Export, and then Save for Web. And once this dialog box loads, I'll show you guys what to do. So you're going to make sure that you have JPEG selected. You're going to change your quality. I don't know what your default is, but I'm going to change the quality to 70. Not 70, okay. And I'm going to uncheck progressive. I'm going to make sure optimize is checked, embed color profile, and I'm going to make sure that convert to sRGB is selected. After that's done, I'm going to change, because this is a portrait image, I'm going to change the height to 2048. If it was shot in landscape, I would change the width to 2048. So it's portrait, it's going to be 2048 on the height. And I'm going to keep my quality at bicubic. You can hit enter and it's going to resize it. And then I'm going to hit save. But before I hit save, I'm going to show you right here where I'm clicking at. It's going to say 567.9K. That's the actual size of the image once I save it, which is good because anything under 1 megabyte, Facebook tends to not compress it. So you're gonna make sure you keep an eye on the size of the image before you hit save. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit save, and I'm gonna save this to the desktop, and I'm gonna put it in a new folder, comparison, and I'm gonna put PS on the end because I want to show you guys the size difference between Lightroom, Photoshop, Capture One, and the web site that I'm going to use. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit save, and that's how you do it in Photoshop. So let's jump over to Lightroom. Same image. I'm going to show you guys how to do it in Lightroom. Now you can be in the library module or in a develop module. It still works the same. You right click on the image and go to file, well not file, but export, and then export, and it brings up the export dialog box. If you don't want to right click, you can go to file and then export, and it'll bring up that same dialog box. So the first part of the dialog box is going to ask you where you want to save it. I'm going to save it into that same folder that's on the desktop, comparison, and I'm not going to rename it. And the file settings is, I'm going to make sure the image size, the image format is JPEG, and I want to take my quality to 70 in Lightroom, and I want to make sure my color space is set to sRGB. I don't use Adobe RGB for web because 9 times out of 10 you won't see the colors anyway. And here is the box that you want to make sure you select, which is the image sizing, and I'm going to resize it to fit on the long edge, and again it's 2048 pixels, and I want to make sure don't enlarge is selected. And if you want to, you can sharpen it for the screen. I don't normally do this. Keep my metadata the same. Don't check watermark. And then I hit export. And that's how you do it in Lightroom. So let's jump over to Capture One. I'll show you guys how to do it in Capture One. In Capture One, you can right click on the image and go to Export Variants. Or if you don't want to right click, you can go to File, Export Image, and Variants, and it's going to bring up the same dialog box. Now I'm going to put this image into the same location as the others, but I'm going to put Cap 1 at the end of my image. And now I'm going to go down to Recipe. Again, the format is going to be JPEG, sRGB color space, and I'm going to change this scale to long edge, and it's going to be 2048 pixels on the long edge. And I'm going to hit export one variant, and it's done in Capture One. So that's how you do it in Capture One. It's pretty simple, straightforward. And now for those who don't have Lightroom, Capture One, or Photoshop, which I imagine 99% of the photographers is going to use one of those programs, I'm going to show you a web-based version where you can resize it on the web. And I'm going to go to, it's called www.picresize.com. Now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to browse to wherever the image is. I got this somewhere on my desktop. And once it's loaded, you're going to go to continue and let the image load into the web site. Let it do its thing. Hopefully it shouldn't take too long. While it's doing its thing, again, this is a good way to do it if you're kind of like on the fly. If you have a computer that doesn't have Lightroom or Photoshop on it, this is a good option. So let's get into it. So now that the picture is loaded, I'm going to go to resize your picture, and I'm going to change this, make my picture into a custom size. And that custom size is going to be 2048 pixels. Once again, because it's a portrait size image, I'm going to change it the height to 2048. If it was landscape, I would change it to 2048 on the width. So now that that's done, we can skip over the effect part, and we're going to go down to Save As. We're going to make sure JPEG is selected, and we're going to change the quality to best. Now, what I normally do in this case when I'm using the web, I want to make sure that the file size is under 1 megabyte. So I'm going to change the file size to 1024 kilobytes, which is equal to just under 1 megabyte. And once I do that, I'm going to hit I'm done and let the web do its thing. And I'm going to save it to that same location as the other ones. And so now that all the images are done, I'm going to open up my comparison box, and I'm going to show you, oh man, what did I do wrong in Capture One? See, Capture One, oh, I know what it is. So let's go back into Capture One and re-export this image. So make sure you change the quality in Capture One to 70. I forgot to do that, or you'll get a big file. I mean, it's not too big, but 2.3 megabytes, Facebook is definitely going to compress that. So usually at 70 is pretty good. All right, so here's my second Capture One, and it is, let's get rid of this one real quick. So the one in Lightroom is about 504 kilobytes. Capture One is about 437 kilobytes, and Photoshop is about 583 kilobytes. Now the one in the web version, it's a little bit higher than the other ones, but it's still under 1 megabyte, so it should be pretty good. Now, the only thing that I've found as far as a difference between all four is that Lightroom kind of saturates the reds just a tad bit. You might not be able to see it on the screen, but it is there, you know, just to give you guys a heads up. It's going to be just saturated just a little bit, but outside of that, if you upload any of these images to Facebook, you won't have any problems as far as compression. You'll keep the same quality. You won't have any issues. Again, you can use this for if you upload it to your website. It's small enough to load your image fast, and that's about it. So I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions, make sure you hit me up. You know where to find me. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you stick around. If you like the video, make sure you give us a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that bell to be notified when I upload a video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.